So much going on. Hey, hi friends. This is Melanie here with the astrology for the week here, starting today, the 17th of January until the 23rd. So, yes, you guessed it. It's the transition week from Capricorn to Aquarius and to the Chinese New Year and so much more. It's the week of the triple turnaround. So we had Mars already on the 12th. Mars in Gemini turned from retrograde since end of October, direct in forward motion. Now we have tomorrow, the 18th, Mercury, ruler of Gemini, goes also direct from retrograde since 29th of December, and Mercury is in Capricorn now and still in Capricorn for a little while until February 11th. And then on the 22nd, we have Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, on the second day of Aquarius, third day of Aquarius, going also from retrograde since end of July, end of August last year, going from retro direct also, and Uranus is in Taurus. So 3 planets going direct, changing directions, being in this U-turn turnaround on January 12, 18, and 22. That's quite a bit at once. Not only that, also that will be then the last planet to go direct. Uranus will be for a while. Then we have no retrograde planets until April, when Mercury, let me just verify what the first one will be. Mercury will go direct again. I'm just a little out of the picture. April 20th, around that time. Yeah, okay. So, getting the idea. For 3 months, for the whole Aquarius season, the Pisces season, and also the Aries season, no planet retrograde. But getting a little ahead of myself here, what's with that turnaround? So when planets are turning from direct to retro, from Earth perspective, of course, right? It's an optical illusion. We all go around the sun, but it seems, it appears, due to the irregular orbit, it appears as if Mercury, Uranus, or Mars are falling back in their orbit in relation to the Earth orbit. It's like 2 trains, one is going slower than the other. Now it appears as if the other one is going backwards. And when that happens, when they go from forward to direct, to retro, or from retro to direct, which is forward, then we're having what's called a storm. The stationary planet, the planet is in this U-turn mode. It moves very slowly to come into gears again, one way or another, in reverse gear or in forward gear. So in this case, all of the 3 are going into forward gear again. And all their themes really coming up and compound with each other. So we've already had Mercury, we already had Mars. Yeah, I'm also doing the Mercury retro. And we had Mars going forward in Gemini. And we've had a lot of Martian stuff. So we had a lot of things going on in the whole communication issue, but communication due to Gemini, but in a quite dynamic, controversial, and violent speech way, divisive, warmongering, all this kind of stuff has been coming up again. And now the question is, so do we want to keep doing this and use basically the voice and the speech in a violent, in an aggressive way, or simply also in such a kind of attack mode almost, because some people these days let out a lot of their anger through words, thankfully not through something else, but still what's with anger management? What's with anger, not suppression, but other outlets than um, all this, yeah, as I said, divisiveness. And the ego mind, right, also related to Mars. Mars planet can be easily hijacked by the ego. It's basically our desires, our wants, and so ego loves to take hold of that and use it for its purpose. So the ego mind can be by nature almost aggressive, right? So this would be a wonderful time for mindfulness. That's where Mercury comes in also. Mercury still retro for one more day. Tomorrow goes direct, and it is also now in storm in a stationary mode until the 24th of January. Mars pretty much around the same time or even a bit longer, end of January, because it's moving slower. And yeah, so mindfulness, being aware of how we think and communicate rather than just having that, letting that be, have a life of its own, right? So stopping and noticing what's going on in the mind and yeah, our thought forms in communication, super helpful now, and can save the day, can save relationships, can save friendships if we are clear in that regard rather than letting it all out at the other. So then Uranus will go also from retrograde since end of August last year. That's a typical pattern. Uranus these years goes retro in August and direct in January. So 5 month and 7 month, 7 month direct, 5 month retro. So that is the planet of liberation, of awakening, but it also comes often with wake up calls and shocks and trauma, right? So this is also would have been a fantastic time lately in the last few months to look at trauma patterns, to look at patterns of unintegrated and repetitively um, lived from trauma, and how can we integrate that and be in that Uranian mode in a freer way, in an awakened way, in a really truly liberated way? Uranus in Taurus wants us to actually experience the freedom through nature, through the body, and in relation to Mother Earth, rather than having all these disruptions going on to biology, to nature, to everything that's organic, food, all of that, right? So, how can we be free and, first of all, be awake to what's going on, right? And then also be cut the cords. Uranus is also the planet that shows up, or that is the archetype of what's been experienced at the last phase of birth. So that's the phase, of course, of the baby coming out of the womb and the umbilical cord is cut. So maybe we are now also in a phase where we need to cut old ties, ties to old patterns, ties to old Pisces age patterns, which have a lot to do with the triad of victim, perpetrator, savior. How can we disengage from that? More to come on that regard, in that note, with Saturn going into Pisces on March 7th for 3 years. So lots to learn, lots to conclude, lots to complete, lots to, yeah, basically old patterns. We can see them for what they are. We don't need to go there anymore. But it's a while, right? It takes a while, is a process. So more to come with Saturn. And then, as I said, it's such a turnaround week, and we can also use this week as a hologram for liberation, for renewal, for all is fresh, all is clearer. Clearing practices would be wonderful, and then literally cleaning can be great at the onset, or not at the onset, but before the Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year starts always on the last I'm retrograde, sorry. On the day after the second new moon after fall after winter solstice. I say it again. So I was very Mercury retro. So you probably know what I mean. All right. So here goes. The Chinese New Year starts always on the day after the second new moon after winter solstice. I got it. So the first new moon after winter solstice this year was already on the 23rd of December in Capricorn. The second new moon will be on the cusp of Capricorn to Aquarius and just briefly in Aquarius. That will be on the 21st of January, coming up this Saturday. And the day after is the Chinese New Year. And this will be the new year of the yin water rabbit. Water is the element for 2 years. Started last year with the water tiger, and tiger by nature is yang, and rabbit is yin. So this is a softer energy according to the Chinese year dynamics, but of course there's so many influences. There's also the Western astrology with its own language and language of energy. The Chinese, as far as I understand, so just a little nutshell, and more to come in an email, in a blog article that I'm about to write. But for the Chinese, we have Chinese New Year. We have year coming up of abundance, rabbit, and also the yin energy is kicking in. The water tiger was pretty fierce, wasn't it, right? So we have more yin energy. Hopefully that also brings actually a year where peace can be found again in Ukraine and many other places. This fierce water tiger business, we can be done with that, I hope. And yeah, so the day before is the Aquarius, 2 degrees of Aquarius, 1.5 actually, 133 of Aquarius new moon on the 21st of January at 12:53 p.m. Pacific. And that new moon is just beyond, so to say, just beyond Pluto, because the Sun will meet Pluto tomorrow, the 18th, and the Moon will meet Pluto on still the 21st. Pluto end of Capricorn. So this new moon totally shows us a lot about this transition from Capricorn to Aquarius. Here you have it, right? So Pluto back in Capricorn, barely. The new moon in early Aquarius. It's the first new moon in the new year, right? And it's also new year that brings the transition, the first part, the first stage of transition of Pluto from Capricorn to Aquarius. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, and I said it many times, many ways. It's the indicator that the old empire expires, and it doesn't do so very, voluntarily, smoothly. It resists with teeth and claws, and there's lots of shadow coming out of all these old power structures that are now the powers to be no more. And Aquarius, of course, can bring new power issues in the Aquarian domain, which is technology / technocracy, and the mechanistic takeover of the mechanical and the engineered, the AI takeover of humanity. We don't want that, right? So what can be done about that, and how can humanity be in its power, right? How can we all as humans be in collaboration, in circles, in community, and rather than buying into the artificial world, which is now so much a reality for many people. Anyway, this is the new moon, and the new moon on the first degree of Aquarius is also a Prometheus new moon. The cusp, I call that the Prometheus point, being associated um, with the hero or demigod or human, in fact, who climbed up the mountain of the gods, the Mount Olympus, to catch or slash was considered steal, claim the fire of the gods for humanity. So the spirit, the energy, the privileges of the elite, which these gods, of course, represented. A true humanitarian Prometheus would say all humanity needs this, and he heroically did this, was punished, was chained on a rock, but also in his hero's journey found a way of being unbound. Not going into the story of that, but you get the idea, right? So there's lots of Prometheans out there nowadays, and the point would be also Prometheans and free thinkers, free humans unite, come together, stronger together than everybody in the hierarchical structure, divided and ruled. So this is the new moon sanctioning that, activating, inspiring us for that. The light is also daylight is getting longer, light is getting brighter, grass is getting greener here on the West Coast. So we see we're moving already out of the major grip of the dark winter, dark and cold winter. Yeah, really privileged here on the West Coast, I must say. Super grateful for that. But you never know, can be another cold spell. Anyway, we're moving towards midwinter, which Aquarius represents, and the festival for that is Imbolc on February 2nd, and that's also St. Bridget, a Celtic Irish festival of the goddess of fire, bringing back life from under the earth, and her insignia and symbols are snowdrops. So we have, what else do we have this week in the astro realm? Yep, talked about the Mars going forward. Yeah, so genuine warrior of free speech, another theme here, right? From divisive to authentic. And now Mercury goes forward tomorrow, and we can be at the same time actually as Mercury changes direction. Mercury makes double quincunx, like 5 signs apart from Capricorn to Mars in Gemini. So what's that combination? So the event happened on the 16th, 2 days ago. Sorry, yesterday, and also on January 20th, when Mercury is also barely out of retro. What's with that quincunx business? That combines the two energies in a kind of reorientation way. It's not per se a pressure, tension, or conflict, but it's more reorientation. And what I said for that is like, how can we use mental capacities, Mercury in Capricorn, time and resources in a better way, right? And move forward with that. and also how can we use resources, how we can use all the energy, all the money that's been invested in weapons, for example, right? What would be a better orientation than all this war business, in my opinion, and I think the planets point to that as well. Then the Promethean new moon, and on the 21st. Then on the 22nd, also as I said, the day of the Chinese New Year, we have, as I said, Uranus in Taurus goes from retro direct again, so turning the inner liberation to outer manifestation of embodied freedom. Yep, as I mentioned before. And Venus in Aquarius on the same day, on the 22nd. Venus in Aquarius passes Saturn. That happens once a year when Venus comes to that point where Saturn hangs out the whole year and passes. So there is a Venus-Saturn contact, but the good news is like then Venus will be ahead and not Saturn, right? So that's also the Saturn emphasis more like a reality check when it comes to free friendships and balance, harmony, Venus, and good matches. And is there, what's with the attraction? What do you attract? What are you really attracted about each other? In what attracts you in your friends, right? So that can be a good check-in. And also the notion to choose, with Venus choosing freedom and not through obligation, Saturn, or any other, feeling responsible, but not really feeling good about it, right? I should. Anyway, so, and what needs to be adjusted? Then, choosing in freedom. Then we have from the moon side, we have now the waning moon because we're approaching the new moon. Waning moon now in Sagittarius since this morning, then in Capricorn, then eventually the new moon in Aquarius, as I said on Saturday, and then the moon will be already in Pisces on Monday morning before the next Astro Weather, Monday evening or Tuesday. And so we're in quite a lot of transitions here. I'm in the moon, that's just the monthly phase or the weekly in this case, right? From waning to new. So that piece even, right? So there's a lot of releasing, lots of old cycle stuff and renewal with the new moon in early Aquarius now, right? So this is a lot about freedom in community, in friendship, collaboration, Prometheus energy, bringing the fire, bringing the light to others, to humanity. It's also called the light worker point, right? The Capricorn Aquarius. Anchoring the light. And then, we have the transition to Aquarius. We have the transition of the several 3 planets going from retro to direct. That's a lot. That's quite a whirlwind of stuff. So my sense is with all that's going on now, next week looks already super different than this one. But not just, the point would be not just to wait that out and sit back and but also to work with the energies. That's always my inspiration. I like to put out how to be best in alignment with whatever is going on, and how to also watch and observe rather than being obsessed by things or attached and too identified with it. Rather than being too identified with it, identify it and align, right? Consciously maybe shifting and being in that planetary archetypal energy in a better way. Yes, that's it for today. Lots to talk about. I hand it over to you, fellow light beings, and hope to see you here or there in community as we are more out and about now. and we'll move to the 303 Astro class, which is happening this afternoon. Aspects were already started, so too late to join. But there's always classes going on. The next one coming up will start on January 26th, and that is about Astro Archetypes. Sorry, 25th is about Astro Archetypes. So that's for all levels, especially also beginners or people who have been dabbling and want to get a good foundation. Okie dokie, have a fabulous week and hope to actually see you in real life. And otherwise, you see me here on the channel next week. Take care.